All over the city, people looked up. 10 years ago, in the sky of Tokyo, the reversal tower appeared. At the same time, in various places, dungeons emerged. Humanity was opening its eyes to mana. Especially talented people, like mages, challenged dungeon attacks, gaining wealth and fame. A mage's talent is determined by the color of their mana. Aptitude is usually represented by a single color. Rarely does a dual color support exist, like the protagonist's younger brother in this story, Kai Kurosaki. Kai Kurosaki was a dual color support, with two colors, blue and red. Facing the beings of darkness, Kai smiled defiantly. The creature provoked by him advanced, and with his dual-color magic, Kai created a spear of darkness, attacking the winged dark being in midair. The monster was knocked down, and Kai obtained the magic stone that fell from its body. Next to Kai Kurosaki was a young man with white hair, carrying a backpack. Kai threw the red magic stone, hitting the young man. "Hey, incompetent, what are you going to do if you don't learn this quickly?" Kai was one of the most powerful mages, known as the Purple King, due to the mix of his mana colors, blue and red. On the other hand, the white-haired young man, his older brother, was a person without a sense of justice. His mana was completely colorless, something rare in the whole world. Rei Kurosaki, unlike his brother who was already level 89, was still at level 1. Even so, he couldn't give up on becoming a mage, so he had become a baggage carrier. Rei worked in a group that his brother had organized for him, hoping that maybe one day he could awaken abilities. Just as he grabbed items dropped on the ground, he grabbed his last thread of hope. After some time hunting, the group arrived at a large closed door. In front of the boss's room, one of the group members thought the battle would be easy. The door was opened, and the 4 team members, including Rei, entered the room. Amid shadows, near gears, a being awaited them. Kronos, the god of construction, had a slender white body with long white hair. His expressionless face was gray and bore yellow pupils and red eyes. To Kai Kurosaki, the monster didn't seem like much. He created purple flames, which concealed ice pendants to attack the boss. The rain of dark spears approached at a suffocating speed. What seemed to be a black hole appeared around Kronos' arms. With a simple wave of his hand, he destroyed the attack. Kronos' gaze fell upon the entire group. Kai was surprised but had no way to escape. Kronos' golden eye glowed like embers, focusing on its target. Kai sensed the danger, but before he could do anything, he was hit. A red fountain sprayed in all directions, staining the bodies of the group members. In front of Rei, his brother fell. As Kai Kurosaki was eliminated by the monster Kronos, the tension in the room increased. The white-haired young man looked back, completely terrified, because against that dark being, Kai hadn't even been able to raise his hand before being hit. The rest of the team hurriedly tried to escape, but fear soon disappeared, along with their lives. Spears struck them in the back, eliminating them from existence. Creating dark portals, Kronos formed his attacks. Faced with such power, Rei fell seated on the floor. Because of fear, his legs couldn't hold him standing. Kronos' eyes turned to him, the last one alive, and a smile appeared on his mouth. "Your mana is completely colorless." Humiliated even in that situation, Rei couldn't bear it. Even with his life at risk, his body refused to awaken. Rei Kurosaki refused to be defeated. He stood up, trembling, firmly holding a sword. Even with no chance to win against that being, Rei didn't want to perish. Life had been short, and he hadn't even fulfilled his desires. Kronos amused himself with the human in front of him. "Interesting. You're trying to oppose me even though you're colorless?" Rei's hands trembled, but he extended the sword forward. He refused to meet his end in a place like that. One after another, dark portals opened, each channeling an attack. With the young human who dared to face him, even in a pathetic state, Kronos decided to have fun. Rei didn't even see the blow that hit his arm, pulverizing it. Only when the pain took over his body did Rei scream in despair. Kronos commented, "I ended up misjudging the force." While spinning his finger in the air, he conjured, "Rewind." With a snap of his fingers, time seemed to go back. Rei's arm returned to its place and he held the sword again. Everything happened with Rei still conscious. His expression showed the fear he felt facing temporal manipulation. This time, Kronos brought his hands together and created a fireball. The flames spread like a wave that would engulf the world. The attack wasn't very fast. Kronos wanted to give the young man time to think. As the flames surrounded Rei, Kronos laughed, enjoying himself as if playing cat and mouse. "So what are you going to do?" Rei knew clumsy attacks would be useless. However, he imagined what he could do with the sword that the same being had created. Rei stared at the sword that had been thrown at one of the team members and dared to touch it, trying to draw it. With the thin sword in hand, he advanced, challenging the flames. Unexpectedly, Rei's plan worked. He advanced through the flames, cutting them as if separating the wind around him. However, it didn't last long. The flames swallowed him. Every part of his body was devoured, little by little. Kronos lost sight of the young man in the flames. It seemed he had already been consumed. However, from inside the flames, Ray emerged, launching a thrust against the powerful being who had lowered his guard. Even with half his body consumed, Ray showed a smile. Kronos held the sword embedded in his chest, completely shocked. The panicked expression was replaced by mockery when he conjured once again, "Rewind." Ray saw time go back again. The flames went out, and Kronos, before him, opened his arms, showing he was perfectly fine, healed. For entertainment, it was good. Ray dropped the sword to the ground. He fell to his knees, not understanding. In his mind, the only thing he wondered was if this would be his end. At that moment, a holographic window appeared before Ray. There was a simple text written, "Existence of the space-time god confirmed, deactivating the dark skill seal." Kronos was confused, feeling that something was changing. The holographic window changed from blue to gold. Extra skill drain obtained. The skill rewind was stolen. The glow from the information window illuminated Ray's surprised face. Kronos also felt the change in his own body. Ray didn't think twice and shouted, "Rewind!" The system initialized the time regression. Desperate to see his stolen skill being used by another, Kronos tried to grab the young man, but with a burst of power, the shadows around Ray dissipated. When he woke up, the last thing Ray remembered was having used the skill rewind. Waking up in a hospital, Ray looked at a mirror and was surprised. Why do I look younger? Before Ray went back in time, the vague image of a powerful man appeared. I couldn't completely defeat Kronos with my own strength, so I entrust you with this ability. You will be able to defeat Kronos. As he got up and realized he had become younger, Ray wondered what had happened. The protagonist looked out the window and beyond the blue sky, saw a structure forming in the sky. The reversal version is white, but until yesterday, it wasn't dark. The reversal structure, when it appeared 7 years ago, had a light color. However, from a certain day on, its emanated energy began to darken. When the doors of the structure in the sky opened, the whole sky became gloomy, and in the depths of the reversal was Kronos. It took several minutes for Ray to recover his memory, remembering that he had stolen the rewind ability from Kronos. Picking up his phone, he checked the date. It was September 27th, 2024. The date on the phone and his current appearance revealed to Ray that he had truly returned 7 years into the past. In the holographic windows the system opened, Ray did not find the rewind ability, but the skill drain ability remained. Seeing the skill that would allow him a turnaround made Ray extremely happy. For 10 years, he had not managed to get a single skill, but with skill drain, he could already envision an unparalleled future. Looking back at the phone, Ray's brow furrowed. This was exactly the day of the Mage exam. In a large, triangular skyscraper was the state organization that supervised the Mages too, tasked with conquering the dungeons. Arriving at the place, Ray noticed the building was extremely new, which was expected since he was in the past. As he walked through the place, some people noticed him. "Hey, what are you doing here?" The two people were Goto Kenji, a level 36 mage, and Wike Shigeru, a level 37 mage. Ray recognized them. The duo belonged to his brother's team, the same team that was in the dungeon where he almost perished before going back in time. Goto Kenji put his arm on Ray's shoulder, provocatively questioning, "Don't tell me you plan to take the Mage exam again?" Uike Shigeru shrugged, adding, "You're colorless. No matter how many times you try, it'll be the same." This was not the first time he took the Mage exam. Ray had not given up on becoming a mage and kept taking the test with the mindset that he needed to lose in order to win. Irritated, Ray pushed Goto's hand away and distanced himself from the duo, who stayed behind. A young woman with long green hair, Hinata Reina, Class B test supervisor assistant, was checking some papers. Her purple eyes fell on Ray, not for the first time. "It's you again. No matter how hard it is, if you keep going like this, one day you'll end up badly." Ray, however, was confident. "This time, I'm sure everything will be fine." Ray followed Hinata to the portal. Since it wasn't the first time, she asked if she really needed to explain the test content. Ray didn't bother and went ahead. The mission was simple: defeat the goblins and collect 3 magic stones to pass. For someone talented in technique, it wasn't very difficult. Upon passing through the portal, Ray immediately felt a carnivorous energy. Hasty footsteps disturbed the earth. Against the first monster about to appear, Ray was already waiting. It was a monster part of an incident that would also happen in the future. There would appear a monster that shouldn't be in a level 1 dungeon, with great power emanating from its small but strong body and wearing a red hood matching its eyes. Ray's first opponent was a level 20 red hat goblin. Being in the test area with Ray, Hinata was shocked. "A red hat? Why is it in a place like this?" She quickly drew her sword, asking Ray to leave the area. Having experienced that before, Ray knew the skill gap was too big. In the world where he had lived before going back in time, Miss Reina wouldn't win that battle. From the start, Reina was pressured. She had to raise her sword to defend instead of attacking. As soon as she defended the first attack, an explosive cut hit her, throwing her back and knocking the sword from her hand. Reina's goal was just a fight to buy time for Ray to escape. In the end, even after being rescued due to serious injuries, she ended up retiring as a mage. Ray blamed himself. Because of him, for being incompetent, for being useless, Miss Reina's life had been destroyed. Ray seriously wanted to act differently this time. As the Red Hat Goblin ran toward him, Ray drew a sword. He threw the sword at the goblin, who deflected it using his own weapon. Ray moved immediately and against the goblin mid-movement threw a punch. This time, he wanted to prove he would reverse all the bad things that had happened. When hit, the Red Hat got furious. Its eyes shone with an intense red, targeting Ray for a devastating attack. Ray was shocked for not having caused damage, but instead, he stole a skill: extreme physical reinforcement. Ray activated the skill and recovered the sword he had thrown at the Red Hat Goblin. The goblin, having lost its skill, was confused and didn't even see when Ray swung the sword at him. With a downward strike, Ray ended the goblin and began the change. "Now you're just a piece of meat!" Reina was shocked to see Ray defeat the Red Hat Goblin that she herself had struggled to face. After defeating his first monster, Ray realized how incredible the skill drain ability was. Reina approached him, asking how he had done it. Scratching his cheek, Ray tried to think of an excuse. He knew something simple wouldn't work, so crossing his arms and looking away, he replied, "I guess it just happened." Reina vehemently refused to believe him. Hinata Reina put the subject aside, canceling Ray's exam since an irregular monster had appeared. Reina wanted to leave and report the incident immediately to headquarters. Ray did not turn to leave. On the contrary, he looked at what had fallen to the ground after defeating the Red Hat Goblin, a golden stone. He remembered that it was uncommon for irregular monsters to appear so frequently, and he still needed at least 2 more magic stones like that. Seeing that Ray wanted to continue the exam, Reina refused to accept it. "Now is not the time to say things like that, it's dangerous." At that moment, the sound of footsteps was heard again. 2 common goblins approached. Seeing the humans, the goblins advanced, focusing their red eyes on them. A golden slash interrupted the goblins' advance, knocking them down instantly. Reina was shocked by Ray's attack. The young man picked up 2 small mana stones and showed them to Reina. "As for the magic stones, would this be enough?" Reina froze for a moment, confused, then shouted, "Why was it so fast?" In the lobby of the Mage Association headquarters, various mages and staff were attending to their duties. At one of the receptions, an ID card with Ray's photo was placed on the desk. "Here it is. This is your mage license." Ray took the card and had to hold back tears. After so long without giving up on his dream of becoming a mage, 10 years as a carrier, enduring humiliations, even from his own brother, now he could finally proudly say he was a mage. The receptionist placed another paper on the desk, the receipt for exchanging magic stones. Magic stones extracted from monsters are valuable energy sources that do not emit carbon dioxide and can be exchanged for money at the association. Taking the receipt, Ray wondered how much he would receive. On the paper was written the amount, 3 million, a sum he had never seen before. Ray's eyes widened, and he shouted the amount, completely shocked. Reina, excitedly, explained that the amount was high because he had defeated a Red Hat Goblin. Ray felt dehydrated, realizing how rich a mage could become. Reina, who had been saved by him, encouraged him. "If it's you, Ray, you'll get much more." The wound on Reina's hand caught Ray's attention. He approached her and, already on the subject, made a request. Minutes later, Ray found himself in front of a portal chamber. Extending his hand and touching the portal, he checked the dungeon information. There was an attack right reserved in his name. Until then, Ray had never been able to enter dungeons alone. However, having changed the future, something proven by Hinata Reina's well-being, Ray was able to show a soft expression, no longer of sadness or pain. Suddenly, a magical hand reached out, grabbing Ray. A voice he had heard that day approached. "A colorless like you trying to enter a dungeon alone?" It was Uik himself who used the magical hand, and behind him was Goto Kenji. "You can't do that, it's against the rules." Ray frowned and revealed, "I passed the mage exam, so now I can enter the dungeon alone." The answer displeased Uik, who advanced, grabbing Ray by the hair. "You think you'll get anything by lying? Then show a skill." Ray's fists glowed. The mana hand Uik used compressed his own mana, exerting incredible power in physical attack, and it was impossible to break it using extreme physical reinforcement. Ray put reinforcement in his feet and managed to turn around, also reinforcing his head to headbutt Uik's nose. Being hit, Uik staggered, and at the same time lost control of his ability. A notification alerted Ray. "You stole the mana hand skill. The active mana hand skill was nullified." Mana surrounded Ray, who extended his hand, using the mana hand skill himself. The mana hand grabbed Uiki, using the skill against him. Immobilized, Uik nervously shouted, "That bastard! He really awakened a skill?" His partner Goto moved, conjuring flames in his hands. "But don't think you're special just because of that." A small fireball was created and pushed toward Ray. At that moment, Ray was finally able to use the body enhancement skill in the most effective way. Ray's reinforced fist punched the air ahead, and when it struck Goto's hand, the fire magic was dispersed. Goto was shocked at being neutralized, but he hadn't suffered enough. A fist filled with energy traveled toward him, thrown by Rei with a furious glare. The punch sent Goto flying to the other side of the room, burying him into a wall. Oik looked back, stunned to see Rei use a second ability, physical reinforcement. Goto Kenji gasped heavily and cursed. That bastard! Don't tell me he's a dual-color user? With the powers of Mana Hand and body reinforcement coursing through his body, Rei corrected him. No. In Rei's hands, a third energy emerged, forming a dark flame. The system warned, "You have stolen the skill fireball." Creating flames more powerful than those Goto had tried to use against him, Rei concluded. "I have one more.